Good evening, everybody. It's We Talking About Sports, and we're back with another Austin FC podcast. It's episode 3. We're here to preview match day 3. We got 3 points to celebrate because match day 2, we came away victorious, got on the victory, got on the scoreboard finally. And we also got another 3 to talk about. Not such a good 3 though, because we didn't get the result in the CONCACAF Champions League, but nonetheless, a lot of soccer to talk about. Fellas, how are you guys doing tonight? Ben and Richie.
Doing good, bro. Happy to be here. Like you said, match day 3. We got points on the table. Feels really good. Complete different vibes from last week. You did mention that CONCACAF Champions League. I'm going to put that in the rearview mirror. This is the MLS Minute, baby. Rich, you happen to be here for match day 3? We're in the win column, baby. We're in the win column.
Got 3 points. There was some of the potential that we've been seeing this whole off season that we've been expecting. So it's finally nice to get a dub.
Yep, and with that, let's get into the slate for today. We got things lined up for you guys. We got 3 things that we're going to hit right off the top. Of course, we're talking about the late heroics that led us to the victory against Montreal. The Verdes did score late to beat them. First of all, though, let's talk about Alex Ring. I know this is a much talked about position there in the back line, playing the center back position. Rich, what's your take on Ring? Are you happy with this performance?
Oh man, I'm ecstatic. Ring
got close. He got close to the screen for that one. Let's go.
Fantastic, man. He totally, impressed me, especially I was kind of disappointed with his performance the first week, but him at center back, our team looks different with him on the field. We look more confident. Not to mention he had some acrobatic clearances. He looked great, man. He showed that grit that we need, that leadership that we were missing in the back line and on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm really happy to have him there. I think he was great.
What about you, Ben?
Yeah, listen, clean sheet, bro. I didn't think that we would have many clean sheets this season. I thought that we would end up outscoring teams. Montreal, not the highest of competition. We were favored. This was our second chance at home, to get in the win column. But I did not expect a clean sheet. I expected a 2-1, 3-1 type of game out of us. And first of all, he's not on the menu tonight. But I want to rewind. I was wrong. Okay, boys, I was very hopeful. Kip Keller did not even make the roster. Rich, I know you slept very well Friday night. Knowing that Kip Keller wasn't on the roster. For me, I just thought, now we're kind of out on him. He did have some playing time in the CONCACAF League, I believe. He subbed in, but, he didn't make the roster for the MLS game, week 2. I was hoping that we showed some support and gave him some poise, but decisions had to be made. Wolf came out with a brand new back line. Really happy to see. Listen, guys, this was, I don't want to overreact, but I tend to overreact. This was that captain badge game for Ring. Our question marks were in the back line. They brought in, the captain from 2 years, the Verdes first 2 years. They subbed him in, put him in there as a utility guy. And Uriti had the goal, but honestly, man of the match, I think what everybody that was an Austin FC Verde fan was looking at, with Drusi not scoring and the guys in the front not playing so well, I think Alex Ring was the man of the match, bro. Like I said, I don't want to overreact, but I tend to overreact. You know what I mean? One of you might have to check me. What's the temperature? But I love this, bro. A former captain getting put into the back line, a place that we needed all the help. We needed all the help. He came in. He was the most dominant player back there. I'm voting him man of the match, Rich. That's where I'm starting the podcast off. I don't know, brother. Am I overreacting, or did we find something? Did we find something back there?
Honestly, well, I don't think it's an overreaction. He played for us a bit at center back when we needed it in the past. But man, it just looks like a whole new team with him on the field. I will add, though, it's interesting to see the partnership that he has with Väisänen. They both play for the Finnish national team. Maybe there's something brewing there. Maybe if they keep this partnership up the rest of the season, they're going to be playing along playing alongside each other with the national team. That could be interesting.
Yeah, and not to rain on your guys' parade or anything, because we're all here, rooting and supporting Austin FC here. This is an Austin FC podcast, but the only thing that I would say, pump your brakes a little bit is, look who they were playing. It is Montreal FC. They're yet to find net, on the season. 2 games, no goals. They got shut out in their first game, shut out in their second game. But
Noted.
I'm gonna say I'm seconding all of you guys' points. You want consistency in the back line, and Alex Ring, he definitely provided that. He was active. We're going to get into player ratings, and we can get into all the stats that, he actually had with the clearances, and, he only got dribbled past once. So that's really good to see in the center back position. So the only thing that I will say, though, is, it was against Montreal FC. That's the only thing we'll say. And it's a tougher opponent this week, which we'll get into. But without further ado, let's get into the savior, the guy who actually netted, scored the game-winning goal. Uriti to the rescue. We saw it there the last 10 minutes. There was a buildup. There's a sense of urgency. You felt it in the stadium. You felt it with the play. There's a constant buildup, probably like around like the 78th minute all the way through to when the goal was actually scored. You just felt like something was coming. Rich, Uriti, is he what we need up top when you talk about somebody that's able to score a goal, or is he just the benefactor of a good play at the end of the game?
Right place,
No,
right time.
I think he's perfect in the role that we have him in. I think him coming in against the tired defense, he's quick. He likes that 1-2 punch. He always goes towards goal. I think we use him perfectly right now as like a super sub to go against tired legs. It was great to see his performance when he came on. The team did look different. They looked like they did play with more urgency. But I'd like to add also he played against Montreal, which was his former club, and he likes to score against them. I think that had a little chip on his shoulder as well. But I think Ruti is a good complement to Zardes, and I think him being a super sub will really help us in those late situations that we need someone to come up big for us.
Nice little tidbit about scoring against his old team. I like that.
Yeah, guys love to show out against their old teams. I mean, we saw what happened to Austin last week with one of their former players, suiting up for St. Louis. But as far as Uriti, I agree. I agree with everything Rich said. I'm not at the point where, listen, he saved us. We haven't seen much from Zardes. We're going to get into him a little bit later. I'm not at the point where I'm saying, oh, shit, this guy scored a goal. Let's move him to the starting lineup because we haven't seen much from Zardes. I agree with Richie's point. He comes in against the tired guys, and he's one of the quicker guys on the pitch. Tends to take advantage of that. He did for us. It was awesome. I mean, none of us expected him to score a goal in this game. We're going to be honest. Made Coach Wolf look really good, along with Alex Ring, at center back, the super sub of Uriti. Coach Wolf, got to tip my hat to him. He did right his wrongs from the first game. But I agree with Rich. I think that we got to keep him in the sub position, super sub, some might call him. I ain't there yet, but for sure. It's good to have him in your back pocket in case Zardes doesn't pan out to be all he's going to be.
Yep, and he did end up netting, which ended up leading to us getting the 3 points with a 1-0 victory. We just talked about the end of the game, the goal being scored with the build up, the constant offense towards the end of the game. They end up winning. Guys, talk about what the victory means. Avoiding the 2-game losing streak to start the season. What it means going forward against Real Salt Lake, and other general thoughts on the rest of the game.
I really thought that us getting the 3 points out of the way, the first dub is huge. You don't want to be playing with the expectations that we have, that pressure, and not get that W. So I really think it's going to help set the tone for the future of the season. I think it's going to help us against Real Salt Lake. I think we're going to play with some fearlessness, and I think that'll lead to a couple goals.
Yeah.
What about you, Ben?
Honestly, if the season starts off and let's say we drop that game to Montreal, is it safe to say that we could hit the panic button at 0-2 with 2 home losses? Or is it an overreaction? I think that was a must-win game early on in week 2. Obviously we got upset by the expansion team in St. Louis, on match day 1. This was the competition that we needed for a bounce-back game. This is that get-right game that we talk about teams having, after a bad loss. It wasn't necessarily a get-right game, but they got the win, which is what they needed. I think, a tie would have been okay, but a loss, boys, 0-2 starting off at home, to St. Louis and Montreal, I think it would have been time to, start hitting that panic button. So I'm very happy with the win. I like the confidence. Yes, we had that game that we're not going to talk about so much midweek, which might have lowered that confidence a bit. But a lot of the starters didn't play in that game. It wasn't the MLS roster that we had out there for Saturday against Montreal. This is a Real Salt Lake team that we saw last year in the playoffs live, at Q2 Arena. We overcame an early deficit. We'll get into that breakdown later. But I like the confidence going into a game against a team, that we do have history against in beating them in the playoffs. So all around, very happy to get the win because I was ready to come on the pod this week and hit the panic button. Had we been 0-2 with no points on the board and 2 home losses, boys, this was a must win.
Yeah, I think it was pretty close to a must win, especially when you talk about all the expectations that we were talking about episode 1, everything that was expected of this team going into the season and to start with 2 losses definitely would have been worthy of the panic button. I agree there. Happy they got the victory. And definitely, the other thing that, we're going to touch on when we talk about them playing Real Salt Lake is, that they had to get that victory in Q2 because they do have trouble winning away from Q2. And so, maybe that's something that they get over the season, but glad they were able to get that victory. So do you guys want to get into some player ratings?
Let's get into it. I like that little segment that we had last week. This is something that we're going to do weekly. We do have some same players from last week. I think guys that deserve to be on here, guys that we might start to need to start having those conversations about. Rich, we might need to have a conversation today about one of these guys that is supposed to be a set starter for the Verdes. But, new to the player ratings page, we got Alex Ring. I think we gave you a little preview of how that rating is going to go, and most might agree. We got Uriti, who was the savior. We're throwing a sub in here for his 10 minutes of work. Let's give the man his flowers, okay? There ain't going to be many chances possibly this season. And then we got the sleeper, Gallagher, guy that I think is going to surprise us this season. So let's get into these ratings, Roland.
Let's do it. And let's start with the guy that we started with last time, the newcomer, Zardes, a much talked about striker, former USA striker, much talked about MLS legend at this point. What do you guys think? I would say he was a little bit more active this game, didn't net. I'm going to let you guys give your ratings first, and I'll give mine. Rich, what do you think about Zardes?
Yeah, he did look a lot more active this game. He had a goal that was offsides. It was a nice strike. I give him a C, flat. He did link up play a lot better than last game. He was all over the pitch, running around like he does. He has a good engine. But he didn't have the finishing product again this game. So yeah, C.
Ben.
I think he was solid, but not great.
Okay, so Rich going with the C, and Ben, I know you were doing a little foreshadowing in your preview of this section right now. Were you talking about Zardes being the so-called starter for this team, or is he still good in your book?
He was one of the guys. This is a fine example of a mid pack right here. This Zardes is as mid as it gets.
He's 31.
I understand, man. And you know what? Justin, shout out Justin, producer Justin. He warned me about this guy. He said, bro, Zardes, bro, you're getting excited about Zardes. That dude's cooked. Fam, he does this shit one more time, and I might be on that cook track. I might be up there with a spatula and everything talking about Zardes is cooked. I'm going to go with the C. I wanted to do a D+, but this is as mid as it gets, bro. If this is one of the offseason signings, yes, he had that offsides goal. I think it was his only shot on target, and it was offsides. I mean, I'm wanting to see more. And I think that it's fair. You know what I mean? He's got one shot on target probably in both of the games. He didn't have anything in game 1. Listen, I know it's only 2 games, but you talked about this being a high-scoring offense and a team that you really wanted to play with because there was going to be opportunities. Show us. I'm going to go with a C. And I swear, if he's on here next week, and he probably will be because he's either going to score or he's not going to score, and we're going to have that conversation. But Zardes, he's on the hot seat over here.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm gonna have to make it a triple C here for Zardes, just because as a striker, it just comes down to if you're not assisting or creating a lot of chances. And I said he was more active, but the reality is, statistically, he created 2 chances, he didn't net, so I can't go higher than a C for a striker if you don't net and you're not creating a bunch of chances like some other strikers that we know of. So we're going to move on from Zardes. He got the C all around. Let's go to the guy that we were giving flowers to, earlier in the podcast. Alex Ring, the center back, provided the stability that we were looking for. Ben, give your rating for this guy.
I'm gonna go with a solid A. I'm not gonna do the A plus because I want to leave some room for improvement, Captain. All right, I want to leave some room for improvement. I'm gonna go with a solid A because we had a lot of questions about what we were gonna do with that big injury. After match day 1, he came in, filled in. Like I said, I didn't expect a clean sheet, whether we were playing Montreal or whether we were playing San Antonio, who isn't even an MLS team. I did not expect a clean sheet. So a clean sheet is a big positive. I'm going to go with an A for Alex Ring. I love it. I love the story. And he's got that leadership, so I'm hoping that he can really anchor that back line.
Yeah, and I talked about it a little bit earlier. I'll give my grade real quick about his statistics and what he did, when you just look at the game. And this is the definition of being active. He had 4 clearances. He cleared 1 header, 5 interceptions, and he had 7 recoveries. So, this guy was all around the pitch. So got to give him his flowers. I'll give him an A as well. Going to copy and piggyback off of Ben's grade. Can't really say anything bad about this guy. And then they got the clean sheet. So, yeah, got to give him an A.
I'll give Ring an A minus only because time he got caught out of positioning. That was kind of scary. And
keep him honest, Rich. Keep him honest.
With the bag on it. There were some risky decisions, but after all, the talent shone through and he played his butt off. But yeah, I'll give him an A minus. He was the man in that team.
Bro, you gotta love though. Like he got stripped of his captaincy. This man's on the back line, playing with a chip on his shoulder. You want that guy in the trenches, and he's in the trenches. This is perfect. I don't want to call Wolf a genius, but it seemed to play out this way, right? What if Ring is just going to waste on our bench, right? Because we don't have an injury match day 1. Listen, the Angels were watching over Q2 Stadium because I think that we really found something. I know you mentioned he's played there in the past. Rich, I think if he's going to play on Austin FC, he found himself a starting spot as long as he commits himself.
I couldn't agree more. I really think that it's perfect. That the partnership looks perfect so far. There's a lot of potential there. I think they complement each other well. Vicenen, able to sit back while Ring's running around, taking those risky tackles. I think it's nice, man. I think there's a lot of potential in that partnership. And they speak English, and Finnish.
Love the synergies. I love the synergies.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. Now, Ben, another, a part of your foreshadowing, you're talking about newcomers to this list. Rigoni, he's new to this list. I don't believe we've given him a rating.
He was on last week, Roland.
Okay, my bad.
This is a conversation we need to have here, Roland.
We'll just get the conversation started, Ben. I have a feeling you're very, you have a lot to say about this one.
Yeah, this is one of the guys, along with Fagundes and Jerussi, who's supposed to be that cornerstone of the team. And, buddy, they served him up on a silver platter, 6-course, 5-course meal. Fam, he was at the buffet with the assists that they were giving him. Within the first 25 minutes of the game, he should have had 2 goals. He blew some chances, bro. He didn't have many crosses into the box. He was set up for those early, and it kind of, after missing, he was out of the game, bro. It was nada que ver, like they say in the 956. Nada que ver, Rigoni. I'm ready to have the conversation about Rigoni. He was subbed out, if I'm correct, Rich?
Yeah, he was subbed
out, and we looked a lot better with them off.
Yes, and we're going to get to that a little bit later with the 5th man on the ratings list today. But, boys, listen, this is a guy that hasn't been paid like Fagundes and like Jerussi. I think this season was going to be what determined whether Rigoni was going to, stay with Austin FC long term or not. Right now, man, I'm giving him a D. I'm giving him a D only because I don't want to give him an F, because maybe next week I can come back with an F. You know what I mean? But I don't
dropping your
want to.
anchor. I love it.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, Roland, we're leaving some room for downgrade.
I
Also,
love it.
you leave room for improvement. You got to leave room for downgrade. Listen, it's not a guy who's going to lose his starting spot in our rotation, right? He's not going to lose his spot maybe until like mid-season, Rich. His leash is long, Rich. His leash is long.
He's getting paid like it, man. That's why we can't afford to bench him. But
so he's going to be out there in the starting lineup, and he's going to be able to right his wrongs. But it's got to happen quick. We got to see some positive play, because it's been nothing but negative. Like I said, man, those are chances that a lot of guys net. The two, even go 1 out of 2, bro. Go 50-50. You know what I mean? But Austin FC should have been up early, and the majority of the reason why they weren't up early is because Rigoni bottled his chances at net.
Oh yeah, he did. He did. You know a few things about that, huh?
Yeah.
What's your rating for him, Rich?
Man, just utter disappointment, man. I can't. A D for utter disappointment, bro. Like, come on, 2 perfect chances in front of the net, and he doesn't even test the keeper in the second one, straight to him, and then he gives away the ball, some terrible cross. All he does is cut in. Oh man, he looks one-dimensional. He looks like he's not playing confident. If he doesn't turn it around, like Ben said, he's not going to be back next year. He's on that DP contract, so he's one of 3. He's one of the 3 highest paid players on the team, bro. He doesn't look like that player. And the sad part about it is he's 30, so he's supposed to be the finished product. He's supposed to come on the field and perform, and he's not doing that. So, yeah, D.
Good point. One of the more senior players on the team. He had 2 big misses. Can't give him anything, better than a D, probably D- if you're being real. Because, you talk about when you miss your chances, you hope you can at least be getting other players involved through crosses and whatnot. But if you're not doing that and you're not putting the ball in the net, yeah, you can't go higher than that. So disappointing from Rigoni. Hopefully he turns it around for Los Verdes. Let's get to the guy.
Roland. Also, Rigoni, though, he had some preseason goals, man. He had 2 or 3 preseason goals. I was pretty excited about him, bro. I was hoping that it was going to carry over. Completely lost. I mean, we're talking about a complete different player through 2 games.
Yeah,
3 games. 3 games.
3 games.
We're not going to talk about that one, but 3 games. Just complete different player. I really liked the form that he looked when he was coming into the season. Playing those preseason games, but man, has he fallen off, bro.
And Rich, just before we leave this, how much longer of a leash, does this guy have realistically in terms of games? Like if you were to put it out there.
Performing like this, I'll give him 3 games until the guy right there, Gallagher, takes his spot.
Okay. All right, well, let's get to the guy who netted. We talked about him a little bit earlier in the previous segment. Uriti, he comes in, he ends up netting for Los Verdes, leading to the victory. I'll just get it out of the way. If you come in the super sub role and you net and it leads to a victory, I'm gonna give you a good little B+. Good little B+. You did your job. Nothing else to say.
Yeah, I'm gonna quick, right? We talked about it earlier. Super sub. I just wanted to put this guy up here to give him his flowers.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know how many chances he's gonna have to be up here on our player ratings, but he saved our day, right? So for that, he deserves an A. I'm gonna give Uriti an A. He did his job. Love the celebration, pointing to the back of his jersey. Yeah, look at the name. Look at the name, baby. I'm gonna give Uriti an A, and thank you. We needed it.
What about you, Rich?
I think Maxi, he provided that spark that we needed, man. I give him an A-. He looked really good. He had a lot of chances. I want to say he hit the bar twice. A-, well deserved. I think he's going to be. Hopefully, he's not our saving grace in a lot of the seasons, but I think he can be. I think he's going to come in and he's going to help put pressure on that back line throughout the season. So I'm excited to have him on the ratings.
I love it, Rich. You're giving out some good grades, not giving out the full A. You're keeping with the A-. I love it. Tough grader. Tough radar, I like it. We're gonna keep it here with you, Rich, because you were doing a little foreshadowing when talking about Rigoni. Give us your rating for Gallagher. What are your thoughts on his performance match day 2?
I think Gallagher was, one of the reasons we did look dangerous when Rigoni came off. I mean, he's versatile. His rate is great. He's all over the pitch, and he gives us a lot going forward, man. I really wanted to say he gets a B plus from me, and I really hope that he's in the starting lineup this next game. I don't think he will be, but I really hope he is because I think we look great with him on the pitch.
What about you, Ben?
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a B plus. I feel like I've given out a lot of A's, and my boy Gallagher though, he netted in game one. What I like also though, Rich, is they're subbing him in with time. He's one of those guys that gets 30, 40 minutes as a sub. They bring him in second half. I like that he netted. I agree with you. The energy is way higher when he's in there. He tends to create more chances. Looks like he has a deeper bag, than Rigoni, because you said Rigoni pretty much one-dimensional. Gallagher keeps the defense guessing. I do like the pace that he brings that second half with, some tired legs after 47 minutes of play with some extra time added on. But I'm going to give Gallagher a B+. I think he is a guy, though, that can possibly get into the starting lineup and cement himself in there and be one of those guys that gives us some hope, and that is able to take one of those spots from somebody that started the season off as a starter. So B+ for Gallagher. Wanted to give you an A, buddy, but I've given too many today, Ring and Uriti. So I'm going to give you a B+ because you're going to have your chances, kid. You're going to have your chances.
Yeah, the other super sub and the guy that was on the other end of that goal, got to give him a B+. I gave Uriti a B+, so I'm going to keep it the same here with Gallagher. He had 5 crosses. He was ultra active while he was in there, so got to give him his props, and he came through with the assist. So Gallagher with a B+, and more to come on him. Rich hopes he can get into the starting lineup, and we'll see what happens match day 3. Let's get into it. The real reason why we're all here today, unless you guys got anything else to talk about with the player ratings.
No, I like that. I like what we did there.
Let's get into match day 3. It's Real Salt Lake. It's a rematch of the match that we all got to go see live, like Ben was talking about earlier, the playoff rematch. Austin FC came away victorious in that one, but Austin FC is lined up as the dog here on the regular time. They're plus 200 to Real Salt Lake at plus 115, and on Draw No Bet, Real Salt Lake is a minus 165 money line favorite to Austin FC plus 125. Ben, what are your thoughts here? A lot tougher matchup. You've been alluding to it all podcast. What are your thoughts here going into this match? Do you like our chances as an underdog?
I always like our chances. Especially like you mentioned. We saw this team live, Real Salt Lake. I mean, their game. They came out, they scored, minute and a half, first 2 minutes of the playoff game, and it was an uphill battle for Austin FC last year. But they have holes, and Austin FC knows how to exploit them. I feel like this is the plus 125 on the Draw No Bet. Then you got the plus 200. Obviously, I'm going to sound like a homer because I've said that Austin FC is supposed to win every game so far, 3 weeks in. But I mean, we were playing an expansion team and then Montreal, right? I think that Austin FC is very game in this. Now I'm going to talk about it, right? That CONCACAF Champions League loss. This is where you come in with that sour taste in your mouth, that taste that you just want to get out of your mouth. I think that's where that helps Austin FC. You just got smacked. Like we said, not all the starters played. Some guys were resting for this game, but you just got smacked. You just got embarrassed by a third world country's soccer team. You know what I mean? So you better come out here, and you better come out here ready to play against a team like Real Salt Lake. This is your first road game in the MLS. You just went and played, across the border against Violet FC. You lost to a team called Violet FC. Man, if you don't beat these Real Salt Lake, oh my God. I think that we're game rolling. I do think it's going to be a higher scoring game. I know that we saw 1-0 against Montreal. Real Salt Lake also lost 2-0 last week against Seattle. So they're looking to get back on the right track. I expect this to be two teams that are going to be aggressive. I like the over 2.5. That 2.5, man, as long as it doesn't get to 3.5 on the minus, that over 2.5 is going to be, I think, good money in the MLS this year.
So no fear after that 1-0 victory. I love it, Ben. I like it going back to the over. I'll probably be on the over as well. Rich, what are your thoughts going into this game? As Ben has been talking about, Real Salt Lake much stiffer competition than what we've seen thus far. Are you worried about the Austin FC record away from home?
I am. I feel like I have two different predictions depending on if Ring starts at center back or not.
Rich, that's not a question, brother. He's going to be there.
I'm hoping he is there. I'm hoping.
So assuming he's starting, what's your prediction?
I got us at 1-0.
Okay, so
if he doesn't start, I think we tie.
So you think that we found something defensively?
I think we do. I think that Finnish partnership is going to be, the foundation of our defense, man.
So
the Finns, you gotta love the Finns.
The Finns.
So if you're following Rich likes Austin FC, and he might be dabbling on the under. So I like that, especially under 2.5. You can get that at plus money if you get another 1-0 victory like Rich is calling for. I'm here on the over. I'm gonna follow Ben here. I like goals. I don't know if Austin FC is gonna win the game, so I'm probably not gonna play a side. Just gonna root for my team and just root for some goals. And what day is this game? Saturday?
Saturday 8:30? Saturday at 7:30.
7:30. Perfect.
Oh no, 8:30, because in Utah, time zones are different. So I'm going off Eastern time, but I think that this is 8:30 our time because the game is in Utah.
Okay. Any other thoughts on the game betting wise, or any other points you guys want to talk about on this matchup?
I'm just happy to see the team on the road, bro. I think that obviously it's early in the season and we're looking for a lot of questions to be answered. I think this is another big question. Your first road game, again, it's not like you're going on the road to play LAFC. You're not going on the road to play Seattle. You're going on the road to play Real Salt Lake, a team that you beat at home in the playoffs. You know that you can do this. So I think that this is another big test. I think it's a big test. Like I said, the team's got to have a sour taste in their mouth. And, who better to take it out on than these fools from Utah?
Rich, any final thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game. Real Salt Lake are solid defensively as far as positioning goes. They're disciplined. They're a little slow, so I'm thinking Dracy can take, advantage of, that space between the back line and their mids. I think it's going to be a tough match, and if we don't have that grit from Ring, we're going to be regretting it.
I like that. Hopefully we have that grit, and I wouldn't be mad at a 1-0 victory if that means that we found something defensively like Rich has been talking about. Let's get into it. This is the MLS Minute. Ben put this slide on here. Ben, why don't you tell us your thoughts behind putting up the MLS table here? Austin sitting in 6th place after 2 games.
Yeah. So this is the conference table, if I'm correct. Yes, I believe it is the conference table. And like I said, I want to be putting this up like bi-weekly, kind of just to see where we are, track the race throughout the season. I don't want to put this up week 10, and whoever's in first is up by 8 points or whatever it may be, and it's almost too late. So let's keep track of it. Obviously we see Seattle up there at the number 1 spot. That was a team that Rich had talked about, on our debut episode, that he expected Seattle to make some noise and possibly be the 2 seed behind LAFC. So, and then we see St. Louis, boys, the expansion team. I mean, starting off with 2 wins. They say that soccer is bred in St. Louis, and this expansion team is living up to it. So very surprising. I mean, this is kind of like, how we look at the NBA, and after like a week and a half, 2 weeks, you see, the Kings in 2nd place, and then you look, hey, Roland, I know, and then you look March 7th, and the Kings are still in 2nd place, and you're crazy. Like, oh shit, all right. So I feel like we should put up the table, bi-weekly, maybe every 2-3 weeks, and just kind of see where everybody's positioning themselves. Obviously, we finally put some points on the table, so what better time to put the table up, right? Austin FC with 3 points on the board, in 6th place. FC Dallas, we see one of the Texas teams, above Austin, obviously with a hot start, a win and a tie. so they haven't lost a game yet. And we see LAFC, the favorite, in third place. 1-1, also a tie and a win. What do you boys think of the table?
Well, I wanted to ask Rich real quick what his thoughts were on the Texas Triangle this year. If he thought that is there more hope for success this year for all three
Houston,
teams?
hey, Houston is booty.
Yeah,
That's all I heard.
It's going to be Dallas and Austin, man, and I think it just depends on if we can together defensively. I think FC Dallas are very well rounded. They're disciplined. They have Ferreira; he's a killer. Uh, they have a good midfield. I think we're gonna have to be in top shape to beat them, but I think the upside. I think we have the more upside. So I think we have the more upside. I think if we get it together defensively, we can come out with that Texas trophy.
Okay, I like that.
Hey, that rivalry with Dallas is real. I wouldn't mind even going out to a game over there in Frisco where the Dallas team plays out of.
Yeah, I'll join you, man.
They got a pretty nice stadium. I visited my brother up there in Dallas, and he's in Mansfield, and we drive by Frisco, and we see the soccer stadium there. So, not a bad spot at all to watch some footy.
Catch a little game there in Frisco. I like that. Rich, is there anybody here on the table that you see possibly making a move up or down either way?
I think Portland is definitely gonna get their stuff together. I think Minnesota is overachieving a bit, but I think the Sounders look like the best team in the MLS to me, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say that as well. I saw a couple of the plays or some highlights from the last Sounders game, and they look like they're playing a different game out there. Like that does not look like MLS soccer. I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the league, but they play with a certain sense of fluidity that you don't see in some of these other teams. So it was definitely a breath of fresh air watching, especially that goal that was making its rounds this past weekend. That was something that you see, from a team in Europe. So definitely glad to see that brand or that level of soccer or football being played, on this side of the pond.
Yeah, Seattle hasn't given up a goal all year either. I mean, I say all year, but it's been 2 games. But they're one of the teams to, yet give up a goal. And, 3 goals in the first game, 2 in the second. Looks like Seattle's back. I know they had a couple of years where they were still hanging around, but it looks like they're back. I'm really surprised to see LA Galaxy at the very bottom. They were a team who usually hanging around the top. Only 2 games, but 2 losses for them. I mean, this is where we were in LA Galaxy podcast. We might be hitting that panic button. And I'm talking about spamming that panic button.
Yeah, and not to mention they lost like Araujo, their most promising prospect, to Barcelona. I mean, they haven't shown much, man. It looks like the other team in LA is taking the title from, the city title. So, hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully, only one LA team's in the top 5. But, yeah, they don't look great.
Hey, why don't we close off with talking about St. Louis? Let's show a little flowers. They beat us on match day 1, whatever. That we got that out of the way, right? We got the win week 2. But St. Louis, the newest expansion team, 2-0. Do we expect them to be kind of, that Cinderella story and hang around? Or do you think that the adrenaline will die off throughout the long season?
No, I think they look, pretty solid, man. Their supporters, kudos to them. Great. The stadium atmosphere looks great. They were there at Q2 singing their butt off. I mean, I could hear them. It wasn't great. I wasn't happy about it, but they were in our ear the whole game. They have great support. I think, it's a movement for St. Louis. And I think they're gonna keep it running for the city.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, you see how St. Louis, that city, supports the Cardinals and the Blues. And they used to support the shit out of the Rams.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I never knew. I've been listening, to podcasts, Twitter spaces here and there. But supposedly St. Louis is like the breeding grounds of soccer in USA. That was news to me. But supposedly there's very elite soccer that comes out of St. Louis. And now they've been handed their own team. And like you said, Rich, year 1 expansion team, game 1. They sold. I know that they had maybe 400. I don't know how many seats they had at Q2, but I know that they did sell it out. They traveled well. I'm expecting them to battle, bro. I like what I saw against us. They seem to be a team that has some chemistry. They started, practicing a year and a half, 2 years prior to being in the actual MLS. So I think that St. Louis is going to stick around as well. It's kind of a breath of fresh air to see.
Yeah, I think they're playing some sustainable soccer, the way that they're defending, and they have some good build-up. So I definitely agree with you guys. I think this is a sustainable. I don't know they're going to stay up at second place, like the Kings, like Ben was talking about in the NBA. I don't know they'll be there, but they'll be in contention for the playoffs. I think throughout the course of the year, and I think that's overall that's good for the MLS when you have a team, an expansion team coming in and being competitive. The more competitive teams, the better. Parity is king when you talk about the NFL. You want all of your teams to be good and competitive. So definitely good to see that. Ben, anything else you want to talk about on the
Nah,
table today?
hey, I just better not hear goddamn Nelly coming out with a song talking about St. Louis
Shit.
MLS
He might
soccer
perform
team.
at halftime in one of
Hey,
these
wait till
games.
they get some better jerseys,
They're,
Nelly. They don't even got no sauce,
they're
cuz,
gonna
all
have the
right?
St. Lunatic style jerseys, or
Yeah,
they're
they
gonna
need
have the
the
St. Lunatics.
vocal St. Louis FC
Yeah,
jerseys.
Murphy Lee's gonna be performing at halftime. I
Oh
like it.
boy. Hey, Nelly, his ass will clank onto that St. Louis FC. Just let them have a good season, bro. He'll be the Matthew McConaughey of the St. Louis squad. Just watch. With a fucking
I love it.
band-aid over his cheek. Just watch.
Well, hell yeah. Is there anything else you guys want to cover today? We're good.
We're good, boys.
All
We
right.
got this is Thursday, match day 3 on Saturday. I think we'll all be tuning in via Apple TV. Any problems, Rich? I know match day 2 was your first time watching it on Apple TV. What are your first impressions?
Oh man, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than I've seen it on any other broadcast. I think Apple TV is doing a great job. The camera work, the quality of the camera, the image was great too, and the commentating. I mean, the commentating was kind of decent, but you could kind of choose, so that was cool too.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty clean as well.
I think the camera angle is definitely is good, and I like the quality of the picture as well. So, and the bottom, the ticker is very clean. It's aesthetically pleasing, and it doesn't hurt that Q2 is a beautiful stadium, especially with all the green there. So, definitely a good watch.
Yeah. Well, boys, good job. We got match day 3 coming up. We'll be back next week with a recap of match day 3 and a breakdown of match day 4.
Hopefully,
That's
3
it.
more points.
Let's go.